Welcome to the introduction and overview of the Commissions Hub commission tracking form system. You can get started with Commissions Hub by going to evotravelagent.com and signing in like you normally would with your agent ID and password. Now this page should look normal. To get to the Commissions Hub, you click here on the Commissions tab and Commissions Hub. This is going to take you to the main dashboard. This is where you always log into the Commissions Hub. If you have been here before and submitted orders, you would see a list of details right here. However, we are first-time visitors, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Before we start our first commission tracking form, a couple of things to note. If you encounter any bugs or have feature requests or ideas that could make the site better, we want to hear from you. So go ahead and fill out the feedback commission tracking form. Now, if it's about a commission payment, that is to the accounting team. What we're looking for through this form is stuff about the site itself. How can we make the site work better? So still go through the old the channels you're used to for questions about your commissions. All right, let's start our first commission tracking form. Click on new tracking form, and now we have to give it a name. And this is what you would call the travel package with your client. All right, so we're going to do the Archer Family Vacation 2025. Make sure you check this box acknowledging the terms and conditions that you agreed to when you became an agent, and those terms and conditions are occasionally updated. So every time you submit a commission tracking form, you're acknowledging that you have read those. So if you haven't read them in a while, go check them out and acknowledge that you agree to those terms. At this point, if you hit discard, package goes away like it never existed, and you move on. However, we want to create a new package, and so this is going to save the Archer Family Vacation as a commission tracking form. Now we're doing commission tracking forms a little bit differently than the old system. You used to have a separate commission tracking form for each different travel type and different supplier, and even with the same supplier with different reservation ID. So what we're now doing is having the commission tracking form contain all bookings for a single package. So if you use multiple suppliers over different travel types and have a bunch of different IDs, everything is trackable under the same form. We now call those travel components for each different unique combination of travel types and suppliers. So we'll get into that in a second. First, we have to add our travelers. So every package has to have a traveler. Even if it's a big family and it's just one person paying the bill, one credit card, one reservation ID, then you only have to put in the primary traveler. If you have multiple reservation IDs for each different traveler, then you want to go ahead and enter in each traveler you've got a unique reservation ID on for part of this package. That way they're available to put that information in there. So you can do that now instead of submitting a separate group form. Obviously not his email, so don't try it. All right, and we're going to go ahead and hit create. Now at this point, if that's the only traveler we're putting on there, we can move on to a travel component. However, if you do have multiple travelers that are going to be going, and you have different reservation IDs for each of them, you can add a new traveler. You can start from scratch, so it's going to have every field blank, or you can hit duplicate primary. That's going to take that first record, make a copy of it, but it's ready for you to edit. So you can just change the name that's appropriate. You don't have to have an email or a phone number on these additionals, so you can either delete them or leave them. It won't affect it if you just leave everything else alone and hit create. No, there is no Ricky Archer. All right, so now we have our travelers. Now we can add some travel components. If I click the drop down here, or in this case the drop up, you can select the travel type for this particular booking. If it's an Expedia type package where you had airfare and a hotel and a cruise all in the same package, then you would want to put that in as a package. That way you have the single reservation ID across multiple travel types. That's a package. However, for this one, let's just go ahead and do hotel. All right. First thing that we have to do, enter a booking date. You can click the drop down here that gives you the date picker. And let's say that we booked this yesterday on June 25th. All right, now the supplier. You click into this box and it's just waiting for you to do something. So let's say we booked this through Expedia. So I can start typing the name and you'll see a drop-down list. Expedia Hotels is the one that I want. And you have to select it out of the list, and now you are selecting an actual official supplier. If you just type in a supplier name and hit enter, and that supplier doesn't already exist in the system, this is not going to work. You'll try and save it and it'll give you an error. If you have a supplier that doesn't appear, supplier hotel does not exist. So what I can do is type other and select other. Now you see these 3 new fields pop up. I can enter them in here. If I have the supplier's email or the supplier's phone number, in case if you happen to have that information, it's great to provide it in case we need to reach out to the supplier and say, hey, we've got this booking and we're waiting for payment. But if you don't have that information, that's okay. You can leave these blank as well. When you submit it, it'll save this so that you'll always be able to use this supplier moving forward. However, for this purpose, we're going to go with Expedia Hotels. Selected. Now we have a start date of travel. July 1st. July 7th. How about it's a nice week-long 4th of July getaway. So hotel name. All right. Now when I click on itinerary details, you'll notice that this automatically populated with a hotel stay at Independence Hotel from the start date. This is just taking some of the information from these to give you something in there. However, if you have a specific format or set of things that you normally put in there, then you can completely overwrite this with anything that you want. So, it can be anything you have. But we're going to go ahead and leave it alone. Now we're getting down to the money. Currency. How was this paid for? Did you pay with US dollar? That's the default. Australian dollar or peso are the ones that we have in here. And as we set up additional currencies, we'll get those entered as well. However, this is what this was paid for to the supplier. So if you paid in peso, make sure it's marked as peso. All right. Estimated commission. This was a $200 commission on let's say a $2,000 sale. Right. Booking reference ID. Here we go. I've got a reference ID in there. This is the reference ID that applies to all travelers. So I can leave them both checked by default, or I can uncheck one of them if they don't particularly apply to a given number. However, in this situation, we don't have any separate IDs to list for any of them, so it's not really going to affect anything. If you have a specific comment about a given traveler or a comment that applies to the overall package, you have some agent notes blank areas here. These are notepads for you as much as for us, but anything that's notable about this package that we might need to know about, if there was a dispute or a claim, that would be great to put in here. All right, at this point, we're going to go ahead and hit create. And I did something bad on purpose. So I put in a 10-digit number in the booking reference ID. However, Expedia is looking for a 14-digit numeric only value. So we know that every Expedia booking is always 14 digits long. It's always numbers only. So we've set the system up to recognize that. So if you have multiple numbers, if you're trying to put 2 numbers in there, just take the second one and put it down here on the additional reference ID. Message, there we go. If you have multiple numbers, one for each different traveler, then you can put that under the individual reference ID for travelers. These also have conditional formatting. So if it doesn't fit the format there, then put it in the additional individual reference ID down here. And then we can use this to manually check it if it doesn't match that. If you have extra characters in there, sometimes there's a dash that we don't actually need in there. It'll tell you based on the supplier what it's expecting to see. So just make sure that it matches that. Perfect. So now we have a 14-digit number. We'll hit create. And now we have a travel package with at least one traveler, at least one travel component. If I've got nothing else to put on here, I can hit submit. Now this is going to go from draft, which is not being considered for commission payment because it's still a work in progress. Now the status goes to submitted. So this one's good to go. If I click back into it, you'll notice that there's a notification here. To update or cancel submitted commission tracking forms, you must first select the edit button below to unlock the record. I can't just go into one of these and change it because maybe you're in here doing some research and you're on the date and then your cat jumps on the keyboard and changes it to June instead of July. There's no option to save or update this in the system unless you hit this edit button. So I'm going to go ahead and click that just to show you what that does. Go. Now, at this point, let's say that for some reason you want to change the travel package name. Let's call it the Archer Family Vacation July 2025. We can update that at the same time, and it's saving those changes automatically. So that's saving to the file, but it's still not submitted. Once you go into editing, you've said, I'm taking this out of consideration for commission because I got to fix something. You always have to resubmit after you edit, and that lets us know that you're done editing. Let's say that we had another travel component that we wanted to add onto this. Let's say we also wanted to add airfare, but the airfare was through a different supplier. So the book date, we booked that today, and the supplier was Downtown Travel. So I start typing down, and boom, there it is on the list. So this is not a drop down, this is freeform. So just type in the name of the hotel, airline or hotel or whatever it is. Destination, I'm going to go ahead and just put the airport code on there, or if you have a city and state, if there's something specific that was listed on the confirmation that you got from the supplier for destination, put that value in here. All right, start date. Well, these start dates are going to match the travel dates. We are starting on the 1st. This is a round trip flight coming back on the 7th. All right, and now we've got Alaska Air flight to SNA departing. If you want to put any additional information in here, this is editable. Currency was US dollar. It's a $100 commission on a $1,000 flight. Okay, and then you've got your booking reference ID, now booking reference ID is just, it's the reference ID. It could be a confirmation number. It could be a reservation number. Everybody calls it something different. All the different suppliers have different names for it, but that's what's going to go right here. All right. And if you wanted to put, for instance, each of their itinerary numbers from the flight, you could put that information in here. Okay, and hit create. And not all suppliers are going to have a conditional format for their reservation IDs. Some suppliers, there's multiple format options available. So in those situations, it's possible that you might be able to enter it incorrectly. And if that happens, if your commission passes and you haven't gotten paid for it, make sure you go back and double check your records. Make sure that all of the information matches what came on the confirmation that you got from the supplier. Okay, so go ahead and hit submit because we're done updating this travel record. We are resubmitted. And now we're just waiting for the travel date to pass and then commission to arrive, and we will then match this up and get payment assigned to you in the system. So as you add more packages, they'll all be available here. You'll see the status change as it progresses through. And then this shows you your submitted date when you first submitted the package. That is the date of the first submission. It doesn't change. So once you get it submitted, you know that you're locked in. And you can expect frequent updates to this area. We're actually working on some new layouts that are going to be able to show you more information about your various orders. It's ever expanding. And again, let's go back to the main page. We have a feedback form. We want to hear from you. So if you have things that you love about this site, or things that you don't love, or that you'd like to see work differently, if you have an idea for us, please fill out this commission feedback tracking form, or to go straight to the developer team so that we can take your feedback and make this work for you. That will do it, and thank you very much.